25. The portion starts tonight in Genesis 25 verse 19, but we cut off last week because we were already running late. So let's just start in Genesis 25. Because last week, Sarah was buried, wasn't she? Last week's portion was Kai Sarah, the life of Sarah. And it started off with Sarah getting buried. And the portion should have ended with Abraham getting buried. But we didn't get that far. But there's no way we can't bury Abraham, give him a good send-off. So we'll read that bit tonight. Abraham is our dad. That's what it says. He's the father of the faith. Abraham Avinu. And we read all that last week, didn't it? Isaiah saying, look to these people, look to Abraham, look to Sarah. So we want to just finish off with chapter 25, and let's just see how we get on. As I said last week, I don't want to say things I don't know about, and I'm just suggesting things, but I just feel that Abraham, his life, it just sort of went a little bit off the rails, I think, by what happened here, you know. You know, his wife died at 127, Sarah, and then it says in verse 25, verse 1, Abraham, I mean, he's 137, but he's had a revival, hasn't he? God said to him when he's 100, you're going to have a son. And he was like, he looked at his own body, as good as dead. But he's had a revival. Again, he took a wife, and her name was Keturah, and she bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Medan. But look at this one, Midian. And we'll be seeing plenty of Midian in the months to come. And probably the most famous of all the Midianites is Jethro, isn't he? Jethro. And he's like a bit of a Laban. He comes and you think he's all sound, but really, he's not so good at all. And then we see later on in the story, it's the Midianites that Balaam puts the idea into their heads to seduce Israel. So Midian becomes one of the enemies of Israel. And this is Abraham's child. So what Abraham does now is give birth to a load, or as a low-born offspring, and these will become thorns in Israel's side.
So also was them that takes Joseph, isn't it?
The Midianites sell Joseph into slavery. Put it in again, Vera. She's on it. She's got to be honest, Vera. You know. Brilliant, Vera. Last week's circumcision one was a cracker, wasn't it? Well, it's right, so I'm just saying, this is what Abraham does. He has all these kids now. Verse 5. So without mentioning them all, there's too many to mention, but the main one being is Midian. So we know that this is a bit of an Ishmael episode again. But it doesn't matter to some degree, because the deal was done on Mount Moriah, when Abraham stretched forth his hand to kill Isaac, and the angel said, no, don't have to do it, Abraham. I've seen that you were willing to offer your son, and now, and here's the word, because, and we'll get into that word tonight, because you have done this, and if you have not withhold your only son, I am going to bless all of the nations through you. And Abraham, whatever happened here with Midian and all of the other people, nothing was going to undo that promise, because God swore with an oath. And God knows what was going to happen anyway, as we'll see tonight. And verse 5, Abraham gave all that he had to Isaac, but Abraham gave gifts to the sons of the concubines. So it wasn't just his wife Keturah, he had concubines as well, and had sons with them. Abraham, he's at 137 when his wife dies, and he goes on the rampage. He's on the rampage with concubines and another wife and all kinds of kids. This is what's happening. And this is going to end up becoming a confederacy of nations against Israel. These are part of it. We'll meet another character tonight, Esau. It was a major part of this confederacy of nations that hate Israel. So God can turn everything around to good. You know, we were talking before the meeting, Silver, that we need to pray for the offspring of Abraham. The Arabs, the Muslims, these are Abraham's offspring too, his natural offspring, and many Muslims are getting saved, and many Muslims have visions, and that's so. We don't hate anybody, we pray for the Muslim nations and the Arab nations that they will have their eyes open to the Messiah. So Abraham gave gifts to the sons of his concubines, which Abraham had, and while he was still living, he sent them eastward away from Isaac, his son, to the country of the east. So that's where they all gather, that's where all Israel's enemies are gathering. Verse 7, this is the sum of the years of Abraham's life, which he lived 175 years. Then Abraham breathed his last, and died in a good old age, an old man and full of years, and was gathered to his people. And look at this, his sons Isaac and Ishmael, both of them, his sons Isaac and Ishmael, buried him in the cave of Machpelah, where he buried Sarah, his wife, last week, where he bought it in for 400 shekels. He purchased the land from Ephron the Hittite. We said last week, Hittite means terrorist. Het means terror. Hittite means terrorist. So he's already dealing and doing land deals with terrorists. You can't do land deals with terrorists. They're liars, they'll lie to you. They'll say with one hand, oh yeah, peace, and with the other hand, they'll stab you in the back. That's what terrorists do. That's what these nations are like. They're a gang of liars and deceivers. And that's what came of this, you see. So we buried him in the fields of the cave of Machpelah. We said that last week. That means couples. Couples is what it means. Couples. Because this is where all the couples were buried. They say Adam and Eve are there. Abraham and Sarah are definitely there. Isaac and Rebecca are definitely there. And Jacob and Leah are buried there. And last week, I said there'd be all kinds of Jews camping out there. And sure enough, if you've seen the photos, thousands of Jews camping out last week around the tomb of the patriarchs to read last week's Torah portion. They're still there. UNESCO designated that land as Palestinian territory. Well, thank God the Bible has a record of this. And I did mention it last week, but it's uncanny that all of the lands that Israel ever purchased, like Hebron, where else did Israel purchase? Jerusalem. David purchased the threshing floor of Ornan, the Jebusite, didn't he? And that is Jerusalem. And Jacob, in a few weeks, will purchase the land of Shechem, and that's called Nablus now. And another king, Omri, he purchased the city of Samaria, and all of these lands that got purchased are the lands now where all of this conflict is taking place. There's a real conflict over this land. It's holy land. The devil wants it. He wants it. He knows if I can take the land and destroy the Jews, then the Messiah can't return. Because Yeshua said, until you say, Baruch haba, B'Shem Yahovah, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, you will not see me again. And so the devil thinks, and his minions and his oppos think that they can prevent this by destroying the nation of Israel, which is why you've got Iran threatening to destroy Israel from the face of the earth. That's why it's happening, because the devil's behind all this. Yeah. But thank God that he has already written this. So he was buried in that field, in that cave. Verse 10, the field which Abraham purchased from the sons of Terah. There Abraham was buried, and Sarah his wife. And it came to pass after the death of Abraham that God blessed his son Isaac, and Isaac dwelt at Beer Lahai Roi, the well of the living one that sees me. That's where Hagar wasn't she, when she was kicked out the house. Then it goes into the genealogy, the generations of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar, the Egyptian, Sarah's maidservant, brought to Abraham. So it gives you his genealogy now, and we won't go through all that. All I want to mention on that, very interesting, is when it says the generations of Isaac compared to the generations of Ishmael. The word and the name for tonight's Torah portion is Toldot. Toldot. And you spell that, or you can spell that biblically in two ways. And when it's talking about the generations of Ishmael, the vav, the second vav in the letter Toldot, pronounced O, the tol, O, the vav's missing, it's missing. And in the generations of Isaac, the vav is there, and the vav is the number 6, and it represents man. And so to take out the vav from Toldot from these wicked generations is why it got the vav removed, to show that the nature, the man is taken out of it and they become more beast-like. That's what it's for. That's why it's not a spelling correction or an error. It's put in there intentionally to show you there's something wrong with this generation. Something's missing from this generation, and it's the vav. But in the righteous generations, the vav is there. It's just so we can distinguish. You'd never see this in Hebrew. It'd be like taking the E out of the generation, and it'd be generation, and you'd see it in English, but you don't see it because they don't alter the spelling, if that makes sense.
It's what you call the remnants. It's like a thing. It's like a thinking point. It's made me think why it's like that.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, chapter 25, verse 19. And that's what it says. This is the generation, and that will be spelled correctly with the vav in. This is the generation of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begot Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah as wife. We done that last week, didn't she? She came on the camels, and Isaac was in the field meditating, and he lifted his eyes and he saw the camels coming, and Rebekah lifted her eyes and fell off the camel, and he took her to be his wife. Well, he was 40 when that happened. When he took Rebekah as his wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Padan Aram, the sister of Laban, the Syrian. We'll meet more about Laban next week. Now, verse 21, Isaac pleaded with Yahovah for his wife, because she was barren. And Yahovah granted his plea, and Rebekah, his wife, conceived. But the children struggled together within her. That word for struggled in Hebrew, ratzatz, and it's used later on in Judges, and it describes the force that it would take to crush a man's skull. So this was no little struggle going on. This was a war breaking out within it, and it's relevant that it's the same word used to crush a man's skull. So we start thinking now about what God said in Genesis 3:15, that I will put enmity between the woman's seed and the seed of the serpent. He will bruise your head, you will crush your head, and you will bruise his heel, because you're going to start seeing heels in a minute. So just try and get on what's going on inside her womb here. There's a battle going on. There's murder trying to take place here between two fetuses, between two unborn human beings in the womb. There's a battle going on. We know that fetuses are human beings, because John the Baptist, when he was only a 6-month-old fetus in his mother's womb, was leaping for joy, wasn't he? When Miriam came to see her cousin Elisheva, it says John the Baptist was leaping for joy in her womb, because he heard the voice of the Messiah's mother come into the house, and he leapt for joy. So these fetuses know what's going on. They have a clue. They are human beings being formed, and they've got characters. You can see here, there's murder going on, or attempted murder going on in Rebekah's womb. And so verse 22, the children struggled together within her, and she said, if all is well, why am I like this? So she went to inquire of Yah. Doesn't tell us how. Doesn't tell us how. You can imagine. She might have gone to a prophet. She might, who knows? We don't know. Maybe she went out to a field to pray quietly by herself. It doesn't tell us. She went to inquire of Yah, and what is going on within me? I've been barren for 20 years. All of a sudden, I've got something going on. And I'm not saying there be no other twins born, but this is the first set of twins mentioned in the Bible. So, I don't know if it's the first set ever, but it's a set of twins. And Yah said to her, 2 nations are in your womb. 2 peoples shall be separated from your body. 1 people shall be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. And there's no record that she goes to tell Isaac about this. We don't get told this. She might have done, but Isaac seems to be a bit oblivious to this plan. And so maybe she didn't tell him, and we don't know why. Maybe she just treasured these things in her heart like Miriam did, Mary, about Yeshua. But she gets told anyway. Yah himself said to her, there's 2 nations in your womb. And this is the history of Israel now. Right up to the present day, these nations are at war. There is enmity between these nations. And this started in the womb. And the devil's fully aware of what God's spoken in Genesis 3, when God said, this is what's going to happen. I am going to crush your head with the seed of the woman, and you're going to bruise his heel. So this is like in reverse in the womb. It's like this firstborn character. It's almost like he's trying to crush his twin brother's head in the womb, which is probably why he comes out grabbing his heel to save his head getting crushed. Like Satan's trying to twist this around, because he knows, if I can stop the seed, if I can stop this seed, I'll be sound. The seed is the only hope that mankind had. The seed of promise.
Steve, it's like the, with Ishmael and Isaac.
Yeah.
They were brothers.
Yeah.
But, one was in the covenant, one wasn't. But now it's twins, a close relationship again.
That's so hard, I know.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. I mean, like, we'll get into this, but we've got to just sometimes take the word of God at face value, exactly what it says. Let's just read it before we go any further. In Romans chapter 8. I mean, this is what it says. Just guide us tonight, Father, into this study. There's a lot to get through, a lot to be said, but we only want to hear what you want us to hear. So please, just lead us and guide us. Don't want to misrepresent you in any way, but we don't want to twist your word either, because we don't understand it. We don't want to do this through the human focus. We want to do it because your ways are higher than our ways, and your thoughts are higher than our thoughts. The potter has got, the clay has got no right to say to the potter, what are you doing? You're the potter and we're the clay. I mean, it's just amazing this. Romans 8, Romans 9 I should say. Romans 9. I think I'll just read a bit of this. It's good New Testament stuff. And it's relevant to what we're saying anyway. This is about Isaac at the start. Romans 9, verse 3. Romans 9, verse 3. If we end up reading more of the New Testament tonight, that's okay. Romans 9, verse 3. I could wish that I myself were accursed from the Messiah for my brethren. That's Paul's heart for Israel. I mean, what a statement to make. I wish I could be accursed from the Messiah for the sake of my brethren. Wow. My countrymen according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertain the adoption, the glory, the covenants, the giving of the Torah, the service of God and the promises, of whom are the fathers, and from whom, according to the flesh, Messiah came, who is over all and eternally blessed God. Amen. Amen. But it's not that the words of God has taken no effect. Listen to this. For they are not all Israel who are of Israel. Not all those who say that Israel are Israel. That's what he's going to explain now. Nor are they all children because they're the seed of Abraham. No. But in Isaac your seed shall be called. That is, those who are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of God. That's clear, isn't it? That's what you were saying to me at the start, Sylvia. Those who are of the flesh, that doesn't make you the children of God. No. These are the children of God. The children of promise are counted as the seed. But this is the word of promise. At this time, at this Moedim, which was Passover, I will come and Sarah shall have a son. And not only this, but when Rebekah also were conceived by one man, even by our father Isaac, for the children not yet being born, not having done any good or evil, you know, they hadn't been born yet, they hadn't sinned or nothing yet, that the purpose of God according to election might stand, not of works, but of him who calls. It was said to her, what we've just read, the older shall serve the younger. As it is written, you just got to take this on the chin, Jacob I have loved, but Esau I have hated. This is from Malachi the prophet, the last prophet in the Old Testament. Malachi, my messenger. This is what Malachi said. Exactly that. Jacob I have loved, Esau I have hated. That is something to get your head around, isn't it? But don't try and filter that through the human lens and go, oh, well, what it means what it says. It means what it says. And how can that be? Only because who we're talking about here, we're talking about Jehovah here. And that means, all right, Vicky, Shabbat Shalom. And Jessica, Shabbat Shalom, nice to see you. We're only just getting going, really. And what I'm saying is, we're just reading about this birth of Isaac, of Jacob and Esau, and God is saying, I love Jacob, but I have hated Esau. And this can only be because God sees the end from the beginning. It's not because he's judged them in the womb and gone, it's because he sees the end from the beginning. He knows how this ends up. And that's why he can choose us from before the foundation of the world. So all we need to do as believers is to just get on our knees and go, wow, thank you, Father. Thank you that I am not saved by works. I am saved because of election. Because you chose me. Just don't hide. Just don't be afraid of what it says. This is what it says. So, Esau's going to play out his life, going to do what he's going to do, and that's what we'll look at now. But we know from the very beginning, God's already seen this, and he knows how it's going to play out, and that's why he can say this to Rebecca, that this is the way it's going to be. Is that all right? I mean, it's pretty strong, it's quite wow, but that's how it is.
It's in the word.
It's in the word, and it just makes us go, thank God we're chosen. Thank God we're chosen. I mean, if that doesn't make you rejoice, not will. We're chosen. We are chosen. That's why do you think we're here? Why do you think we're not out in town getting bladdered and we're not doing all kinds? Because he chose us. That's why we're here. That's why we're here, studying the Word of God together.
We are loved by the Creator.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. I mean, he's not willing for any to perish, but he knows how this is going to be. He knows people's decisions. He knows how people think, and he knows. He just knows. He is Yahovah, who was, who is to come. He's the beginning and the end. He's everlasting, from everlasting to everlasting. This is who we're talking about here. He's not. He doesn't react. He sees, and that's what he sees here. So, verse 24. So when her days were fulfilled for her to give birth, indeed there were twins in her womb. Twins. First mention of twins in the Word of God. And the first came out red. He was like a hairy garment all over. So they called his name Esau. Esau, which means hairy, hairy. But it's very similar and comes from the root word for a type of grass. More than just grass. Weeds and tears. Well done. Tears. So we know where this is going. Tears. That's what his name is. Hairy, but it's to do with like the tears, the grass. Not like productive grass of the field, wheat. The unproductive grass of the field that drains the life out of the wheat. tears. We'll read about it maybe in a minute. Afterwards, verse 26, his brother came out and his hand took hold of Esau's heel. So his name was called Yaakov. Yaakov, Jacob, Yaakov. That's not supplanter. That's what some translations say. And it's not supplanter. It's Yaakov because the name for heel is Akev. Akev is the name for heel. Genesis 3:15. He will bruise you on the head and you will bruise him on the heel. Akev. So already start to get this sense now of this is part of the heel of God. Yaakov. It's Akev heel and you got the yod in front of it. It's like Yah's heel. It's the messianic line is going to come through this man. The heel that's going to crush the serpent's head is going to come through the loins of this man. His offspring will be the Messiah who will crush the serpent's head, and the serpent knows it. That's why he was trying to destroy Jacob in the womb. That's why Jacob comes out grabbing his heel. Because he's trying to crush his head in the womb. There was a war going on in the womb. Rebecca's like, why is this? What's going on? There's like a war going on inside me here. There was a war between two unborn children. That's how deep this goes. That's how deep this goes. Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. So how old were they when they married? 40. So it's 20 years later. Well, how old was Abraham when Isaac was born? He was 100. So if Isaac is now 60 and we just found out that Abraham died when he was 175, Abraham's not actually dead. He can't be. He can't be. He's 160 years old. So for 15 more years Abraham will be alive. And it's exactly what Hebrews chapter 11 says. Let me just read it to confirm that. I mean, you can do the maths and that's quite simple. There's no doubt about this. Hebrews, I'm just going to read one verse of Hebrews 11. Hebrews 11 verse 8. It says, by faith Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to the place which he would receive as an inheritance. And he went out not knowing where he was going. By faith he dwelt in the land of promise, as in a foreign country. You read that last week, didn't he? He wasn't grasping it. He knew this is not what it's the city to come we're after. He was a sojourner. And it says he dwelt in the land of promise as in a foreign country, dwelling in tents with Isaac and Jacob. So Abraham was alive when Jacob was born and had 15 years, which is a long time, to spend to teach this lad the ways of God and to share the promises with him. Where's Esau? Esau's not interested. We'll read about him now.
Can I just say, if you read verse 27, it says, the boys grew up and Esau was a cunning hunter.
I'm going to read that, yeah?
So he's a bit like Nimrod.
Exactly.
He's a hunter.
Well, that's what we're going to read now. So that's what you just said, verse 27. So the boys grew and Esau was a cunning hunter. Like Vaughan said, that's exactly how Nimrod was described, a hunter. And not only Nimrod, but the serpent was more cunning than all the beasts of the field. So you know now, Esau's took upon himself this satanic nature of Nimrod. And then it says, and he was a man of the field. He was a man of the field. Well, the Bible is the best commentary on the Bible, isn't it? So if you want to know what that means, Matthew 13, I probably won't go there, but I've already mentioned the tares, haven't we? That Esau's name means hairy and derives from this kind of grass, which is more like tares. Well, in the parable, in Matthew 13, and it's the parable of, not the sower, but the parable of the wheat and the tares. And Yeshua says in there, he gives the parable, and then he explains it, and he says, the field is the world. So when it says Esau's a man of the field, it means he's a man of the world. He loves the world. He loves the world, Esau. And 1 John says, love not the world. And Esau is a man of the world. He's a cunning hunter. He's a man of the world. And it says this though, but Jacob, I mean mine says mild man. Anyone else got a better translation than that? Jacob was a mild man. Plain man. Quiet man. Well, we've got 3 translations. Plain man, mild man, quiet man, gentle man, peaceful man. So what was he? What was he? You know what he was in Hebrew? He was a tam man, tam. And that's in Job chapter 1, when God says to Satan, have you considered my servant Job? He is a perfect man. That's what it's really translated as. Tam is perfect. It's like when it says, you must bring an unblemished lamb. Tamim, complete, perfect, without spot, without blemish, tam. And that's what Jacob really was. He was a perfect man. So you've got to start changing. What is?
After the Lord had dealt with him.
Well, yeah, but what was we saying? God sees the end from the beginning.
Oh,
that's why you can look at these 2 fetuses in a room and see where they're going, see the decisions they're going to make, and say what he's saying about them. You know, God doesn't hate Esau and he's got it in for Esau, but God's like that. I love those who love me. You know.
He knows the spirit.
Yeah, he does.
It sounds like one is a striver who is striving and just sort of collect and all that, and the other one usually what God prefers often is the meek one. Even David the king was just one who was just quietly okay with his job away on the hill with the sheep. He wasn't a striver. He was just quite peaceful and just it's okay, this is good for me.
So them other descriptions are good as well. He was mild and gentle, etc. But just to get a better picture of what God's saying, he was perfect. He was complete in his sight. That's how we are now. It says that we are complete in him. We are without spot and blemish in his sight, all because of Yeshua. So that's the picture we're getting painted here. We need to try and get it. I thought we'd fly through this. But anyway, sounds. Verse 28. Isaac loved Esau. He loved Esau. But why did he love Esau? Because he ate of his game, it says. That's another sort of getting led up the garden path here. What it actually says is in Hebrew is because game and venison are the same word, same as hunting. So there's always a good one. I know when in the bank, she talks to Jews and they ask her, oh, what did you do in the talk? Did you mention Rashi? They want to hear, don't they? Did you talk about Rashi and Rambam? They're the sages, the greatest sages in Israel, are the Rambam and Rashi. And this is what Rashi said about this. He said, when it says he loved the gate of his game, it actually translated in Hebrew says that hunting was in his mouth. That's what it really means. You decide to make out that Isaac's some sort of venison addict. And he's like, he loves venison, but that's not why he loved Esau. He loved Esau, it says, because hunting or entrapment was in his mouth. In other words, Esau was a deceiver. Esau knew how to tickle your ears. Esau knew to say just what you want to hear. And that's why Isaac loved Esau. He was cunning. He was a cunning hunter. And he was a hunter of men. He was a hunter of hearts and minds. The battle for hearts and minds is on. And Esau is a deceiver and an entrapper. That's why Isaac loved him. Because hunting, entrapment was in his mouth. That's the literal Hebrew.
In Proverbs, it says that, bosom was in his mouth, but woe was in his mouth. He spoke with bosom, but woe was in his mouth.
Okay, well that's what, that's what I'm saying. But Rebecca loved Jacob. So Rebecca's got the right approach here because that's what God said. Jacob I loved, Esau I hated. And so Isaac's got this the wrong way around, but Rebecca's got it the right way around. Verse 29, now Jacob cooked a stew, and Esau came in from the field, from the world, and he was weary. He was weary. As soon as I read that word, I just go to Daniel 7:25 every time, because Daniel 7:25 says that this is what the Antichrist is going to do. He is going to wear out the saints. How is he going to wear out the saints? He will take away the Torah and the times. He'll take away the Torah, the commandments, and he will take away the appointed times of God. And he'll replace them with a Torahless gospel that says it's all done away with now. And he'll replace it with these fake feasts of Christmas and Easter and Sunday worship. We meet on a Sunday. We have a fantastic gospel study on a Sunday. It's wonderful. Nothing wrong with the first day of the week. But there's everything wrong with it when you change the Sabbath to the first day of the week. That's an abomination. Alright? It's just totally wrong. It's nothing wrong with Sunday. It's a great day. It's the day that Yeshua ascended to heaven, you know, to present the first fruits offering, and then returned and said, go and tell my brethren, you know. So, not wrong with the first day of the week, but it's not the Sabbath. And this is what the devil, Daniel 7:25 says, that's what he's going to do, so that he can wear out the saints. And that's because the Sabbath is the day of refreshing, isn't it? It says that on the seventh day God rested and he was refreshed. So this is the day he has chosen to refresh us. It's a day to realise that the work is done. The work of salvation is complete. There's nothing we can add to it. There is nothing we can do to earn our salvation, and the Sabbath is the best day of the week to just let that be downloaded into your conscience and realise we are not saved by works. This is why it's so much emphasis on don't work on the Sabbath, because the work is done. Yeah, it's a salvation message. So I'm getting dragged all over the place here because I just can't miss out these words though. He was weary, he's come in from the world and he's weary. That's what happened. If you spend your time in the world, it'll wear you out. It'll wear you out spiritually, and that's exactly what the devil wants. So well done for getting here on the Sabbath. Well done. I know how hard it is. It's a struggle sometimes, but you just need to just be disciplined here and just, you know, thanks for getting here. Verse 30, and Esau said to Jacob, please feed me with that same bread stew, for I am weary. Therefore, his name is called Edom. Edom, bread. He was called Esau, now he's called Edom, and that becomes the Edomites. Herod, King Herod, was an Edomite. It says Herod was Idumea. Edom, King Herod was an Edomite, and we know what he got up to. Verse 31, but Jacob said, sell me your birthright as of this day. And Esau said, look, I'm about to die. What is this birthright nonsense to me? What's this birthright thing all about? I'm about to die. And Jacob said, swear to me of this day. So he swore to him and sold his birthright to Jacob. And Jacob gave Esau bread and stew of lentils. Then he ate and drank, arose and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. This is the kind of character he is. He despised his birthright. And you don't have to, take my word for it. This is what Hebrews says about him. Hebrews chapter 12. Just for time, I'm just going to go there and read it out. I'm not going to wait till we get there tonight because I just want to get through it. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 15. Look carefully lest anyone fall short of the grace of God, lest any root of bitterness spring up, cause trouble, and by this many become defiled, lest there be any fornicator, or, this is what it says about Esau, or profane person like Esau, who for one morsel of food sold his birthright. For one morsel of food. For you know that afterwards, when he wanted to inherit the blessing, he was rejected. For he found no place for repentance, though he sought for it diligently with tears. But he had sold his birthright. And I probably wanted to spend a lot more time on this, but we haven't got that much time. So I just want to force this point home, how important this is, the birthright. The birthright of the firstborn is called the Bechorah. The Bechorah. And that the firstborn, this birthright, is all to do with the priesthood. the priesthood. And that's what Esau was despising here. He was despising the priesthood. And it's exactly what Malachi says this, that the priests started to despise the covenant and to despise the table of Yah, and just they weren't taking the covenant seriously. This is the priesthood. And it's the same word of despising it, right? Because this is what Yah says in Exodus 13. We know the story of Passover. What was Passover all about? God was going to destroy all of the firstborn in the lands of Egypt. And only those who put the blood of the lamb on their doorposts and lintels would escape. And so God redeemed the firstborn through the blood of the lamb. That's how important this is. It's to the firstborn. And it said then that, God says in Exodus 13 verse 2, all of the firstborn are mine. That's what Esau's despising here. He's despising this intimacy of being the firstborn. God knew he was going to do this. This is why he could pronounce this from the womb and say what he said. He knew he was going to do this, but he's got to allow him to do it himself. So he does it himself. What's it for? A morsel of food. And this goes right back to the garden. Right back to the garden. This is where it all went wrong, wasn't it? It says that the woman saw the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and she saw that it was good for food, so she took and ate. And it's very the way the devil will always try it on through food. Esau's come in from the field, famished and weary, and the slightest hint of a bit of food, he's willing to sell his birthright. The devil knows how to do this. He even tried it with Yeshua. When Yeshua's in the wilderness after 40 days and 40 nights without food, what's the devil come along and say? If you are really the Son of God, command these stones to be turned into bread. And he's playing on the appetite. He's playing on that. It's so basic. It's only a bit of food. But look what it said. Esau was a profane person who for one morsel of food sold his birthright. The birthright of the firstborn is the priesthood. That's what Hebrews 12 says, that now we have come to Mount Zion. We have come to the heavenly Jerusalem and the congregation of the firstborn. Yeshua is the firstborn. He's the firstborn from the dead, it says in Romans 8. Firstborn from the dead. Revelation chapter 1 says the same thing. He is the firstborn from the dead. And that is now how we are saved, because we're in him. We are the congregation of the firstborn. Esau's not interested. It's like, I don't want to be in the firstborn. Not interested in being in the firstborn. Just get something to eat. This is exactly the way the devil does things. It's always through this technique that he's done it with Adam and Eve, through food. He's doing it again. He tried it with Yeshua. Because the firstborn, as I just said, when they came out of Egypt, God chose them. They were the firstborn. They will be the priesthood. But then in Numbers chapter 3, that's when we see the transference take place, when God says, right, this is how it was meant to be, but now, it was because of the sin of the golden calf, now, instead it says, instead of all the firstborn of Israel, now it will be the Levites who will become the priests. So we can see how connected the firstborn is to the priesthood. That's what Esau's despising here. He's despising the priesthood. And that's what the devil wants us to do, to despise the priesthood, to sell our birthright, and to not take up our place and our role as kings and priests now. We're kings and priests to our God. It's our role to intercede for our land and for salvation and to pray for his will to be done. This is what priests do, but the devil wants to get us out of our inheritance.
And the word carnal is from meat.
All right.
It's from meat. Carnal person.
Okay. So I wanted to probably spend a bit more time into that, but I just want to try and get through it as well. So chapter 26, is that all right for now though?
Yeah.
But that's so thingy, maybe I'll just read one of them. Philippians 3:18, am I going to read that? Yeah. I'll just read this just to finish that off on the whole food thing, what's going on in Esau here. It's common to man, you see. Philippians chapter 3 verse 18, for many walk, of whom I have told you often, and now tell you, this is Paul, weeping, even weeping, that they are enemies of the cross of the Messiah, whose end is destruction, whose God is their belly, and whose glory is in their shame, who set their mind on earthly things. So this is Esau all over, isn't it? He's a man of the field, he's a man of the world, he sets his heart on earthly things, and his belly is his God. And for one morsel of food, he's willing to sell his birthright. God, not simply, you can start to see now more why God can say, I loved Jacob, but I hated Esau. He's a man of the world. He's not a man after God's heart, quite the opposite. So all we can pray, Father, is thanks that you've chosen us. There's something in us that you've seen that made you choose us. But please deliver us from that Esau that's in us, that Esau that's in our flesh. Let us deny him. Let us deny his profane demands of us, Father, so that our belly won't be our God, and we won't be enemies of the cross, and we won't seek earthly things, but that you'll give us the grace to seek those things which are above. All because we have died and our life is hid with the Messiah in God. Therefore, seek those things which are above, where the Messiah is seated at the right hand of God. Amen. Chapter 26. There was a famine in the land, besides the first famine that was in the days of Abraham. Remember that first one, don't we? That first famine made Abraham go down to Egypt, wasn't it? Remember? But we said then, what was the famine for? Because God was judging the inhabitants of the land. He was already starting to deal with these Canaanite demonic possessed individuals, and he was already starting the process of driving them out the land. Abraham's here. The family of God have arrived now, and so God wants to take care of these Canaanites that are in the land. So that's what the famine's for, to judge the land, or judge the people there. So this is another famine. And Isaac went to Abimelech, king of the Philistines in Gerar. If you think you've heard this before, you have, because you heard all this in Genesis chapter 20. Abraham did exactly the same thing in Genesis 20. Like father, like son, not in the only way here. And then Yah appeared to Isaac. I mean, and that's what it is. He appeared to Isaac. And Yah is Yeshua, so that's what's going on here. And he said to him, do not go down to Egypt. Abraham went to Egypt, and God's saying to Isaac, don't go down to Egypt. As it turns out, Isaac never gets out the land. He's born in the land. Abraham forbids him from going to find a wife in a foreign land, and now God's saying you can't even go to Egypt. It's like, stay in the land, Isaac. He says, don't go down to Egypt. Live in the land of which I shall tell you. Dwell in this land. And after all this now, talk about your kingdom come and your will be done. It's good to know what God's will is, isn't it? Well, here it is. Whenever God says, I will, that's God's will. And this is what he says now. I will be with you, and I will bless you. For to you and your descendants I will give all these lands, and I will, here's another I will perform the oath which I swore to Abraham your father, and I will make your descendants multiply as the stars of heaven. I will give to your descendants all these lands, and in your seed, Isaac, all the nations of the earth shall be blessed. Now here's a huge word. Because, and that word because is the word ekev, which is the same as the word for heel, akev. Because means on the heels of. Does that make sense? On the heels of, on the heels of this. It will follow on the heels of, because. So you see how this connected, can't you? The heel of Yaakov, the heel, God's heel, is the same as the word because, and it's all because Abraham obeyed my voice. All of that blessings, all of the nations are going to be blessed, all because Abraham obeyed my voice. That's how important this is. That's how vital it is that we are connected to this Abrahamic faith. Abraham obeyed my voice, kept my charge. We've looked at that in Numbers because that's a priestly term. It was that word mishmeret when it said that the priests were to keep the charge of the tabernacle. That's what it was. And it goes right back to here when Abraham was someone who kept the charge. In other words, he'd done everything that God said to do. So Abraham obeyed my voice, kept my charge, kept my commandments, kept my statutes, and my Torah. Abraham kept the Torah. And I've had these discussions with people and they've gone, how could Abraham do the Torah? Moses is not for another 400 years. How could Abraham keep the Torah? He didn't have 2 tablets of stone. We didn't need 2 tablets of stone. And we don't need 2 tablets of stone because it's written on our hearts. And why did Abraham keep the Torah? Well, all you've got to do is go back to the beginning of the verse. Because Abraham obeyed my voice. That's how he kept the Torah. He didn't need 2 tablets of stone. He just needed to listen to what God said. Simple as that. God said to him, here's what I want you to do. And Abraham went, okay, I will obey. I will obey your voice. And that is the covenant. That's the covenant that Yeshua has brought to us, because he said, my sheep will obey my voice. And if you really love me, don't just be sitting there singing I love you songs. No, actually do something if you love me. It's called obey my commandments. If you love me, obey my commandments. That's whether you love him or not, whether you obey his commandments. It's no point saying you love him and disobeying his commandments. You're a liar. It's just as simple as that. You're telling lies if you say you love God and don't keep his commandments. Now that's not me saying it, that's Yeshua saying it. If you love me, keep my commandments. Abraham kept his commandments, kept his charge, kept his statutes, and kept the Torah. Verse 6, so Isaac basically obeyed the voice. Yah just appeared to him and said, don't go down to Egypt, stay in this land. So Isaac dwelt in Gerar. He obeyed his voice. And the men of the place, so talk about like father, like son, George, the men of the place asked about his wife, because Rebecca was beautiful, wasn't she? And he said, she's my sister. Well, Abraham could get away with that a bit, because Sarah was Abraham's sister, wasn't it? Abraham said last week, she's my sister. We've got the same dad, but we've got different mums. So she was his half sister. On the other hand, Rebecca is not Isaac's sister. I mean, she's not Isaac's sister. She's his cousin, isn't she? She's his cousin. So is he telling lies here? Or is he on a different level? And does he understand the covenants of God? And does he understand, even though it hasn't been written yet, the Song of Songs? In the Song of Songs where it says, my sister, my spouse. So does he understand this? That there's a covenant family here and that she is actually his sister in the faith? Maybe he's playing that one, I don't know. Or is it just an out-and-out lie? I don't know. But I'll benefit of the doubt, I think he's coming from a much higher level and he's talking spiritually, because spiritually she is his sister. It's like Lynn is my spouse and she is my sister. I'm not lying, I never say Lynn's my sister. She's my sister.
Your sister and your spouse?
Yeah, she's my sister and my spouse. So if we ever go to Gerar and they start going, I'll say she's my sister. She said she's my sister, for he was afraid to say she is my wife, because he thought, lest the men of the place kill me for Rebekah, because she is beautiful to behold. Now, thank God Yeshua is not like that. You know, Isaac's a good shadow picture of Yeshua, but Yeshua was not afraid for his life. He laid down his life for his bride. Isaac's not quite the same. Isaac's afraid for his own life, but Yeshua is not. He was not afraid to die for us. Only because he knew that he would be raised from the dead. He knew, I will walk in the land of the living. Verse 8, now it came to pass when he had been there a long time, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked through a window and saw, and there was Isaac. Mine says showing endearment. What, anyone else see anything different? Caressing. Ooh. Anything else? Sporting. Yeah. I know, showing endearment. But I said this the other week. This is the same word that was when it said Ishmael, and it said was mocking Isaac, and so you had the impression that he was pulling tongues at him and all that. But it's the same word as this, and I didn't go into it then. I'm not going to go into it now. I can only tell you what it says, that whatever Ishmael was doing to Isaac is the same word that Isaac's doing to Rebekah. So read into it what you will, but I'm just giving you the facts. That in Hebrew is the same word. When Isaac is sporting with Rebekah, he is caressing Rebekah, showing endearment to Rebekah, his wife. Same word that Ishmael was doing. Verse 9, then Abimelech called Isaac and said, quite obviously, she is your wife. So, you know, obviously they were giving the game away that they were man and wife. How could you say she is my sister? Isaac said to him, because I said, lest I die on account of her. Yeshua wouldn't have said that. He'd have died on account of her. That's what it says there. He laid down his life for his beloved. Abimelech said, what is this you've done to us? One of the people might soon have lain with your wife and you would have brought guilt on us. This is the same Abimelech, going back to chapter 20, when God said to him, you're a dead man. And Abimelech's like, what? I haven't done that. And God said, oh no, I've stopped you from doing what you were going to do. And that's when Abimelech is like that with Abraham. It's the same fellow. He's going, what again? I had his alpha here a few years ago. No, Isaac's here. What's going on with this family, with the sisters? Yeah. Then Isaac and Abimelech had charged all his people, saying, verse 11, he who touches this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. Then Isaac sowed in that land and reaped in the same year 100-fold, and Yahovah blessed him. And that just reminds me of another parable from Matthew 13, when Yeshua gave the parable of the sower. The sower went out to sow. Some seed fell by the wayside, some seed fell in rocky ground, and so on. And he's shown the meaning of this parable was the seed is the word of God, and in some people's lives it falls by the wayside and the birds of the air come and eat it up. And in some people's lives it falls amongst the rocky places, and it says that the sun came and it withered it up quickly. Other people, it actually took root and started to bear fruit, but then the thorns and the thistles, which Yeshua said are the cares of this life. Worrying about this life, worrying about trivial worldly matters. How much time have you spent and have I spent worrying about nonsense? Yes. Worrying about things that are just a waste of time. The time and effort and money that you put in to the things of this world. Well, that's what Yeshua said. Some people are like that, and they'll just produce a crop of 30. And he said, some will produce 30, some will produce 60, and some will produce 100-fold. And it all depends on the condition of your garden, if you like. All depends on, have you been doing the weeding in your garden? Have you been getting those cares of this life out? Have you been getting the rocks out? Have you produced a lovely fertile soil that the word of God will go in and it won't be taken away from you, and you won't walk out of here and go, oh, whatever, and start thinking all worldly again, and the devil will just be like having a field day, go, sound, got that won't produce any fruit. Or are we preparing our hearts and getting the enormity of what's going on in our day and realising we are God's people? We're not religious anymore. We're not playing religious games anymore. We're not doing our daily Bible study for half an hour, going, oh yeah, I've done that anyway, and go to church on Sunday, oh I'm a great Christian. No, we've woke up now and gone, my God, this is serious now. We are really in a serious predicament here, and we really need to wake up to the times we're living in. People like that will produce the 100-fold, at least 60. Let's produce as much as we can. Well, it'll all be because Yeshua's give the parable of the sower. This is how it'll work. The seed is the word of God, and those who receive it into good soil will produce fruit. And that's what this is about. Be fruitful. Be fruitful. How can you be fruitful? Well, all you got to do is do what Psalm 1 says. Blessed are those who meditate whose delight is the Torah of God, and who meditate in it day and night. Because they will be like trees planted by the streams of water, and they will bring forth fruit in its season. So meditating on the word of God is how you get fruit. Simple as that. The parable of the sower verifies that. Psalm 1 verifies it. Isaac went where he was told to be. God blessed him for being obedient, and he got 100-fold return. Verse 13, the man began to prosper and continued prospering until he became very prosperous. So he was obviously into the prosperity doctrine, which I had to correct myself about. I'm a bit harsh about rich people. I don't hate rich people. I just, like Yeshua said, you can't serve God and man. You can't. You can have loads of it, but if you've got loads of it, you'll be doing loads with it. Loads of good things with it. You won't be storing it up for yourself and baking barns for yourself and going, oh, I've got loads to last now. God, you fooled this night, your soul's required of you. That's the sort of, you've got to hold it lightly, haven't you? But God's blessing him. Verse 14, he had possessions of flocks and possessions of herds and a great number of servants. So the Philistines envied him. Now the Philistines had stopped up the wells which his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham, his father, and they had filled them with earth. What a stupid thing to do. A well that you get water out of, and they've come and filled them all up with earth. This is what terrorists do. This is what they do. They blow themselves up. And the mums are all made up. Oh, my son is a Shahid, or whatever it's called. A Shahid. And they delight that their children are blowing themselves up. That's how vengeful and twisted these people are. They are filling up the wells with earth. And verse 16, Abimelech said to Isaac, get away from us, you are mightier than we. The Pharaoh in Egypt will be saying that in a couple of 100 years' time. When Israel will be too mighty for them in the lands of Egypt, get them out of here. Then Isaac departed from there and pitched his tent in the valley of Gerar and dwelt there. And Isaac dug again the wells of water which they had dug in the days of Abraham his father, for the Philistines had stopped them up after the death of Abraham. He called them by the names which his father had called them. They were very covenant names, weren't they? Beersheba and that. And Isaac's servant dug in the valley and found a well of running living water. Chaim Mayim. He found a well of living water. That's Yeshua. He's the living water, isn't he? He is the well of living water. He said, oh, who are thirsty, let them come to me and drink, and out of their innermost being will flow rivers of living water. So you can see we are the wells, and the Philistines and the enemies want to stop up our wells. And how are they going to do it? By putting loads of earth in, by filling us all up with the dust of the earth and making us feed on worldliness. The world's got into the church, hasn't it? The church is full of worldliness and worldly tactics and worldly events that they do and worldly feasts and trying to worship the true God in worldly ways. And it's the tactic of the enemy to stop up the wells of living water. But thank God, Isaac's servants dug in the valley and found a well of living water. But the herdsmen of Gerar quarrelled with Isaac's herdsmen, saying, the water's ours. It's our water. It's our water. It's not. It's not your water at all, but that's how these people operate, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's our water. You can't have your own well, because you'll be draining our water from it. It's like, it's not your water at all. But anyway, Isaac's peaceful, and he gets off, digs another well in verse 21, but there's another quarrel. So we move from there in verse 22, and this time there was no quarrel, so we named this one Rehoboth. Rehoboth, yeah. Because he said, for now, Yah has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. Then he went up from there to Beersheba, and Yah appeared to him again that same night and said, I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not fear, because I am with you. That's our word, isn't it? He is with us. His name's Emmanuel. He will never leave us or forsake us. Do not fear, for I am with you. I will bless you and multiply your descendants. Why? For my servant Abraham's sake. So he built an altar there and called on the name of Yahovah. That's what Abraham did, wasn't it? A couple of times. This is what Noah did. This is the gospel. This is what Joel says. This is what Acts says. This is what Romans chapter 10 says. Whoever calls on the name of Yah will be saved. So you can see what Isaac's doing here. He's a gospel man. He's just doing the gospel. Build an altar and call on the name of Yah. And he pitched his tent there, and there Isaac's servants dug a well. And then just going to have to go through quickly now. Can we go over for a few minutes again? Yeah? Seems to have gone quite quick tonight.
Yes.
So just got to sum up quite a bit here. So basically, verse 26, Abimelech comes with his mate Ahuzah and Fichol, the commander of his army, and they've got a cheek. They have got a cheek, haven't they, when you read this? They're coming now going, I know we told you to beat it a few verses ago, but we've just realised God's with you and you're blessed, so can we make a covenant with you? Any chance to all be your mates again? Because you're the blessed of Yah now. You're the blessed of Yah now. And so basically Isaac makes a feast for them, and they ate and drank, and Isaac sends them away in peace, like, get out of here, but be careful who you make covenants with. You've got no covenants to make with the world. I'm not trying to meet anyone halfway. I'm not trying to meet anybody halfway. If you're not interested, see ya, because I want God's way. I'm not trying to, it's not a democracy here. It's not like, give and take, we'll sort of mellow out and use and we'll agree. It's like, no, we won't at all. We won't make any covenants with the world whatsoever. We've got one covenant, that's with Yah. And if you want to be in that covenant, hallelujah. And if you want to make up your own man-made covenant, bye. That's how it is, isn't it? So he made them a feast, sent them away in peace. And that's Beersheba. Chapter 20, verse 34, you've got to read that bit. Verse 34, when Esau was 40 years old, he took his wives, Judith, the daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and Besemat, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and they were a grief of mind to Isaac and Rebekah. So we've mentioned this. Hittite means terrorist. Esau took for his wife 2 women of the tribe of terror. Terrorists. And Rebekah was vexed. Isaac and Rebekah it was a grief of Ruach in Hebrew, so really their spirits were vexed at these. Because you can imagine what's going on. These are Hittites, these worship false gods. Probably got Christmas trees up and everything. And Easter eggs out and all kinds to the kids. Easter. And Isaac and Rebekah are going, Christmas dinner! You're on the laugh, aren't you? And you're going to go, on Sunday? No. God bless all our brothers and sisters. Amen. It's just deception, that's all. We've inherited lies from our fathers. But this is the day when God said that he would bring us back to the ancient paths. Chapter 27 is a good one. should we just try and read it? 10 minutes, let's say. Chapter 27, it's gone quite quick though, hasn't it? Chapter 27. Now it came to pass when Isaac was old, and his eyes were so dim that he could not see, that he called Esau, his older son, and said to him, my son, and he answered him, here I am. Then he said, behold now, I am old, I don't know the day of my death. Now therefore, please take your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me, and make me savoury food such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat, and that my soul may bless you before I die. Now Rebekah was listening when Isaac spoke to Esau his son, and Esau went to the field to hunt game and to bring it. So Rebekah said to Jacob his son, saying, indeed, I heard your father speak to Esau your brother, saying, bring me game and make savoury food for me, that I may eat it and bless you in the presence of Yah before my death. Now therefore, my son, Shema my voice, obey my voice. This is what the Torah says. Obey your mother and father. So you can see Jacob's a perfect man. You read that. Jacob does what he's told to do by his mum, because he's a good lad. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice according to what I command you. Not what I suggest to you, what I command you. Go now to the flock and bring from there 2 choice kids of the goats, and I will make savoury food from them for your father, such as he loves. Then you shall take it to your father, that he may eat it, and that he may bless you before his death. And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, look, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth-skinned man. Perhaps my father will feel me, and I shall seem to be a deceiver to him, and I shall bring a curse on myself and not a blessing. But his mother said to him, let your curse be on me. Very much what we read about Paul, wasn't it, in Romans, when he said, I wish I could be cursed from the Messiah for the sake of my brethren. This is like what Rebecca's saying, lad, don't worry about it. Let the curse be on me. This is too important. This Esau can't be getting the blessing. We're talking the Messianic line here, mate. You need to get in there now and get that blessing. Because I know you were in my room when I was a kid and we would have a murder. And God said that the younger is going to serve the older is going to serve the younger, etc. So she knows God's plan on this. So, many views on this, all kinds get said, but let's just read what it says. Verse 14, and he went and he got them and brought them to his mother, and his mother made savoury food such as his father loved. Then Rebekah took the choice clothes, that's important, took the choice clothes of her eldest son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her youngest son. And she put the skins of the kids of the goats on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. So this deception now that's going to take place involves a lovely coat, choice clothes, and a goat skin. Well, this is going to come back on Jacob's head in years to come, isn't it? When Joseph, his beloved son, is sold into slavery by his brothers via the Midianites, and they're going to go back to Jacob, their dad, and deceive him with a coat dipped in goat's blood. I'm going to deceive him and say, oh, is this Joseph's coat? And Jacob for years is going to be under the misconception that his son Joseph's dead. So it's going to come back on this. It'll be the same technique, a coat with goat's blood. And that's what this is now, a coat with goat skins. So the ingredients of deception are sown, if you will. And so she put that, and she gave the savoury food, verse 17, and the bread which she had prepared into the hands of her son Jacob. So he went to his father and said, my father, and he said, here I am, who are you, my son? Jacob said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. Well, he's already got the firstborn blessing, so you can see where he's coming from. He is, in effect, the firstborn, because he's already inherited that blessing. I've done just as you told me. Please arise, please arise. Lovely phrase, lovely language, not the same as Esau speaks. please arise. Sit and eat of my game, that your soul may bless me. But Isaac said to his son, how is it that you found it so quickly, my son? And he said, because Yah, your Elohim, brought it to me. Via my mum, Rebecca, but I'm not going to mention that. Then Isaac said to Yaakov, please come near, that I may feel you, my son, whether you are really my son Esau or not. So Jacob went near to Isaac and his father, and he felt him and said, the voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. So he's saying the voice is Jacob's voice. It might be a tonal thing, it might be the tone of his voice, but I think it's more, he talks more like Jacob with these words, please, please sit, please sit. It's not the way Esau speaks, he's more rough, he's not so covenantal, because the last few weeks, this word please has gone right up there on my list of covenant words. From the very moment that God said to Abraham, please offer your son Isaac. Please, it's such a covenant term. That's how we pray. Please, God. That's how Isaac prayed for his wife. He pleaded with God that she would have children. And Jacob's inherited this same mannerism of speaking, please. And that's what Isaac's saying. This isn't the way Esau talks, but his hands definitely feel like Esau's. And he did not recognize him in verse 23 because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. Then he said, are you really my son Esau? And he said, I am. He said, come here to me, and I will eat of my son's game, so that my soul may bless you. So he brought it near him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. Very covenantal. This is what you do. Covenant. You'd always have food and wine at covenants. That's why we have bread and wine every week, because it's a covenant meal. Amen. And his father said, come near now, my son, and kiss me. Verse 27. And he came near and kissed him, and he smelt the smell of his clothing, and blessed him, and said, surely the smell of my son is like the smell of the fields which Yah has blessed. Therefore may God give you of the dew of heaven, of the fatness of the earth, and plenty of grain and wine. Bread and wine. Let the people serve you, and the nations bow down to you. Be master over your brethren, and let your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be those who bless you. Now it happened, as soon as Isaac had finished blessing Yaakov, and Yaakov had secretly gone out from the presence of Isaac, his father, that Esau, his brother, came in from his hunting. He also made savoury food and brought it to his father, and said to his father, let my father arise, doesn't say please, and eat of his son's game, that your soul may bless me. And his father Isaac said to him, who are you? So he said, I'm your son, your firstborn Esau. Then Isaac trembled exceedingly and said, where is the one who hunted game and brought it to me? I ate all of it before you came, and I have blessed him, and indeed he shall be blessed. When Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with an exceedingly great and bitter cry, and said to his father, bless me also, O my father. But he said, your brother came with deceit, and has taken away your blessing. And Esau said, is he not rightly named Yaakov? For he has supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and now look, he has taken away my blessing. And he said, have you not reserved a blessing for me? Then Isaac answered and said to Esau, indeed, I have made him your master, and all his brethren I have given to him as servants. With grain and wine I have sustained him. What shall I now do for you, my son? And Esau said to his father, have you only one blessing, my father? Bless me also, oh my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. That's what we read in Hebrews, wasn't it? That once he realised what he had done, he sought for repentance with tears, but there was no place found for him. He had sold his birthright. Then Isaac, his father, answered and said to him, behold, your dwelling, it doesn't say shall be of, it says shall be away from, really. This is a bad translation. It says your dwelling shall be away from the fatness of the earth and away from the dew of the heavens above. By your sword you shall live, and you shall save your brother, and it shall come to pass when you become restless that you shall break his yoke from your neck. And that's a good example of where Edom is. Edom is that southern part of the Jordan, in a dry and a desolate land. That's the place of Eden, and that's his blessing. That's what you call a blessing. That's what Jacob says to him. Verse 41, only going to go on for 2 minutes now. So Esau hated Jacob, hated him because of the blessing with which his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then I will kill my brother Jacob. I'll kill my brother Jacob. I'll get this blessing back. Well, he's got the firstborn blessing. That's going to be no good to him when I kill him. Because I'll be the son then, and I'll get it all back. And he's being very like Cain, wasn't he? Cain in Genesis 4, he killed his brother. And so you can see again, Esau's got the same traits. He's a murderer at heart. He's a man of the world at heart. He's not interested in the priesthood blessings of God. He doesn't want nothing to do with it. Now he's vexed because he's lost out on a few quid. That's what he's vexed about here. He's lost out on the family inheritance, all them sheep and goats and herds and silver and gold. That's all he's interested in. Let's have it right. Need to start finishing off now. It only goes to chapter 28, verse 9, so we haven't missed out on loads of this. I'm just going to finish off with chapter 28, verse chapter 28. Because what happens now, Rebecca sees what's going on. Somehow she hears the words of Esau. It says that Esau says this in his heart, but somehow Rebecca hears it. However that is, I don't know. Maybe God reveals it to her. Maybe she has great discernment and insight. But she knows that Esau is going to kill Jacob. So she comes up with the next plot now, and she's saying, right, flee now, flee and go to my brother Laban, that's who we'll get into next week, and get a wife from there. Don't take a wife from this land. Don't be like your brother Esau, marrying Canaanite women, Hittite women, terrorists. Don't be getting involved with them. Flee. And she tells Isaac the story, and Isaac's in total agreement. He's on it now, he understands now, and so Isaac is going to give him the second part of the blessing now. Isaac blessed him really with material blessings, like the fat of the earth and loads of grain and wine. But now he's going to, and that's why I'm going to finish off with this, he's going to give him the spiritual blessing now. Chapter 28, it's only 9 verses. Then Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said, you shall not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Padan Aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take yourself a wife from there of the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. Here's the blessing. May God Almighty, Adonai, El Shaddai, bless you and make you fruitful and multiply you, that you may be an assembly of peoples, and give you the blessing of Abraham, to you and your descendants with you, that you may inherit the land in which you are a stranger, which God gave to Abraham. So Isaac sent Jacob away, and he went to Padan Aram to Laban, the son of Bethuel the Syrian, the brother of Rebekah, the mother of Jacob and Esau. Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him away to Padan Aram to take himself a wife from there, and that as he blessed him, he gave him a charge, saying, you shall not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. And that Jacob had obeyed his father and his mother, and had gone to Padan Aram. Also Esau saw that the daughters of Canaan did not please his father Isaac. So Esau went to Ishmael now, and took Mahalat, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nabajot, to be his wife in addition to the wives he had. So that's the final verse. So now you can see how this is growing now. Esau is this confederacy of nations that to this very day will hate Israel and will persecute Israel to this very day. And it all started here. So hopefully you can see now why God could say, Jacob I have loved, but Esau I've hated. All we can do is pray for these people, that there will be repentance, that some will escape from this and will come into the covenant of God. He's not willing for any to perish, but he knows the end from the beginning, and he knows who it is. All we can do is give thanks that we are his. So thanks everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Abba Father, we praise your name tonight. Father, this is a deep, deep thing what we've read tonight. But it just gives us so much joy and hope that we're here. That we're here not to play religious games. We're here because we hear your voice. We hear your voice calling us back to the ancient paths, calling us back to the covenant that you made with Abraham, Isaac, and now with Jacob. The blessings are with Jacob now. Jacob will become Israel. Israel will bring the blessing to the world because salvation is of the Jews, and Yeshua came through the line of Judah. And so we are so grateful, Father. All we can do in simple thanksgiving is say thank you, Father. Thank you for saving us. Thank you for choosing us. We don't understand everything, Father. Some things are just so hard for us to understand, but we can accept these things by faith. And thank you for choosing us. Bless us, Abba. Bless us with the blessings of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob. And let us bring much more into this understanding, Father. In the name of Yeshua, amen. Thanks everyone. Thank you everyone.